That got your attention, didn't it? Now we'll turn it down just a little bit. We're glad you're here at Wilmore's 4th of July Festival and this performance of the Jessamine Community Band. You can do that. About 39 months ago, my former band teacher, Alan Jacobus, called me and said, we're going to get together a group of, at that time, Jessamine County alumni to play in a little band. And we're going to have a concert down in Wilmore, and would you be our narrator? And I agreed to that. And it's hard to believe that it was 3 years ago today that they gave their first concert. They started with 8 people. Look at them now. And not only do they have people from just Jessamine County, they got people from all over central Kentucky. You're in the Dan Glass Pavilion. We had the Wilmore Fountain going just a minute ago. Looks like that is closing up the day. Hopefully you won't get too hot under here. We've got some great music though that will certainly set the mood. Now, if you are a musician, would like to join this group, they would love to have you. They can always find room for more. All you got to do is just talk to anybody up here. They'll tell you how you can get involved. They're purely nonprofit. They're doing it because they love it and because they want to entertain our community. Now today we're here to celebrate the 249th birthday of the United States. And we're going to have some great patriotic music for you. Got some big things planned for next year. Next year is not only the 250th birthday of the country, it's also going to be the 150th birthday of Wilmore. So it'll be huge next year. So look out for all those details. They got a Facebook page, Jessamine County Community Band. You can keep track of the concerts. How many of you were at the last one, the Space and Beyond? Yeah. You know, today's a day to be thankful. I'm thankful I'm not having to wear that astronaut's outfit today and can dress a little cooler. We're going to begin our concert with a great musical piece that you all know, the Star Spangled Banner. This was arranged by a fellow named Henry Fillmore. There was a poem that was written by Francis Scott Key way back in the day. He was a lawyer and an amateur poet. And he was in Baltimore in September 1814 when he witnessed the bombardment of Fort McHenry by the British ships. And the fort was defended by American troops. And he was concerned about the outcome of the battle. Well, he was allowed to board a British ship to negotiate the release of a prisoner. And as he watched the bombardment of the ship, from the ship, he was inspired to write a poem about the American flag, which he saw. And the poem was completed the next morning after the British ships had withdrawn. Now the poem was set to the tune of a popular British song written by a fellow named John Stafford Smith. The first public performance of this song was October 14th, 1814 at a concert in Baltimore. And the Star Spangled Banner was officially adopted as the national anthem of the United States by a congressional resolution March 3rd, 1931. So, we'll ask at this time if you're able to stand and welcome Tim Johnson, the co-director of the Jessamine Community Band. You can join in the singing of our national anthem, the Star Spangled Banner. Is My Country. It was arranged by a fellow who is known well here in Wilmore, especially James Curnow. It's an American patriotic song composed in 1940. The lyrics are by Don Ray. The music by a fellow named Al Jacobs, not to be confused with our co-director Alan Jacobs. Now the lyrics are a statement of patriotic pride and devotion. This is my country, land of my birth. This is my country, grandest on earth. I pledge thee my allegiance, America the whole. For this is my country to have and to hold.
Bring it on. And this one.
This next song was arranged by a fellow named John M. Pasternak. It's a song from the American Civil War that expressed people's longing for the return of their friends and relatives who were fighting in the war. Irish-American band leader Patrick Gilmore wrote the lyrics to this song when Johnny comes marching home during the Civil War. He's said to have written the song for his sister Annie as she prayed for a safe return for her fiance, Union Light Artillery Captain John O'Rourke. When Johnny Comes Marching Home was immensely popular and sung by both sides of the American Civil War. At this time, please welcome David Holland, the band director of Lincoln County Middle School and a member of the Jessamine Community Band, who's going to conduct our next three selections. David? selection is called Chester Variations, arranged by Elliot Del Bordo. And the song Chester is by William Billings, a patriotic anthem from the American Revolution. And it celebrated the colony's fight for independence and expressed confidence in their victory. It portrays British rule and equates the American cause with a moral struggle against oppression. The song emphasizes trust in God, suggesting divine support for the American effort as long as they remain faithful. It concludes with a call to praise for God for their anticipated triumph. Chester became America's very first war song and a favorite for the Patriots. And it's significant in the scope of American popular music because it marked the beginning of a new musical movement towards the military song. This is Chester Variations. everybody is familiar with up around Stafford County, Virginia, there's a place called Aquia Landing. It's located at the confluence of the Aquia Creek and the Potomac River. And it's a pivotal transportation hub between the southern states and the northern ports. And passengers and cargo and entire rail cars were transferred from the railroad up there to steamboat vessels, which carried them down the Aquia Creek to the Potomac River to Washington, D.C., and then to Baltimore, Maryland. Well, this key position also made that landing a major gateway along the network of freedom through which fugitive slaves had to pass to get their freedom. Well, shortly after the start of the Civil War, this important transportation hub became a site of interest to both sides. Union steamships, Confederate artillery exchanged fire for 3 days over the landing during the Battle of Aquia Creek, and that was back in late May of 1861. A year later, in April of 1862, the Union troops returned to Stafford and rebuilt the landing and used it as an operations center for about 5 months. And during that period, an estimated 10,000 freedom seekers who sought refuge behind Union lines passed through Stafford, and many have been believed to have been shipped north from Stafford to Alexandria, Virginia, or to Washington, D.C. So a very important place in our Civil War history. The gateway to Freedom March, Aquia Landing. And thank you, David Holland. You certainly will know this next song, America the Beautiful, arranged by James Swearingen, a patriotic song that celebrates the natural beauty and promise of the United States. Now, the song was written way back in 1893. A lady named Catherine Lee Bates wrote the song after she had visited Pikes Peak up in Colorado. And then the poem was set to music in 1910. A fellow named Samuel Ward did that, and has become one of the most beloved patriotic songs that we have. Now, the song is divided into 5 stanzas. Each describes a different aspect of American landscape. The first stanza describes the purple mountain majesties of the Rocky Mountains. The second stanza describes the amber waves of grain in the Midwest. The third stanza describes the fruited plain of the Great Plains states. The fourth stanza describes the purple mountain majesties, again, this time in the context of the American flag. And the fifth stanza calls on Americans to crown thy good with brotherhood, or sea, shining sea. America the Beautiful is a song of hope and optimism. The song celebrates the natural beauty of the U.S., but it also calls on Americans to live up to the ideals of freedom, democracy, and equality. Now, we have another director, another member of the community band. He also is the band director at West Jessamine High. He'll have the next 3 selections, Ben Lay. Our next selection is called Host of Freedom by Carl L. King, edited by John L. Painter. This stirring march is a classic of American band literature, known for its bold melodies, strong rhythmic drive, and patriotic spirit. Written way back in 1920, Host of Freedoms exemplifies King's masterful command of the march form, inspiring experience for audiences. Carl L. King was one of the most prolific and respected composers of band music in the early 20th century. Wrote over 300 works for wind band. Often compared to John Philip Sousa, King brought the distinctive energy and flair to his compositions, many of which remain concert staples to this day. His work celebrates American ideals, often evokes his excitement of parades and circuses and patriotic ceremonies. By Carl King, this is Host of Freedom. Well, some of you younger people might recognize this next one. It's from the movie Captain America, the First Avenger. It's called the Captain American March by Alan Silvestri and arranged by Paul Murtha. A powerful and memorable march based on the main theme of that movie. Alvin Silvestri's dynamic and expansive theme was taken on a life of its own, eliciting patriotic emotions. And much like the film it accompanies, it wears on its heart on its sleeve and has a simple intent, and that is to excite you, to entertain you, and to leave you with the experience that you enjoy. This is Captain American March. Our next selection, called Highway of Heroes by Robert Buckley, was composed to honor heroism of all kinds, to pay tribute to the brave souls who every day risk their lives and even pay the ultimate sacrifice. The inspiration for this composition came from the name of a stretch of highway that pays homage to fallen soldiers. The music is very reverent and reflective with emotional ebbs and swells. A quiet hymn-like melody moves through the different selections of the ensemble and eventually builds to a stirring theme of hope and inner strength. And the piece ends and it opens, as it opened, with quiet respect. Highway to Heroes with conductor Tim Johnson. Our next selection is called Marches of the Armed Forces, arranged by Michael Sweeney. These iconic pieces of music are a reminder of the sacrifice and the dedication of the military community and serve as a symbol of pride, honor, and patriotism. The arrangement begins with a fanfare and will be followed by the theme songs from the Marines, Army, Coast Guard, Air Force, and Navy. It's a reminder of the sacrifices that have been made to protect the United States and a call to remember those who have served and continue to serve. Now, as the song is played, I will announce those theme songs. If you happen to be a member of that branch of service, we would ask that you stand so that we can recognize you. Also, if your family member was a member of that service, may not be here today, you may stand for them as well. Marches of the Armed Forces. United States Army. United States Air Force. We want to take time to say some special thank yous today because it takes a village to do all this. And we especially appreciate those that help. First off, Amy Fitch and the City of Wilmore for their hospitality today. They allowed us to play in here, and move chairs, and helped in many other ways that made this performance possible. Also, you know, every week, these people decide they probably ought to rehearse, and they got to have somewhere to do that. So special thanks to Asbury University for giving them room to practice every week. And not only do they get the room, they get to borrow all the percussion equipment because the band doesn't own their own, so they're nice enough to let them use that. They're both critical, of course. Also, we have another band that helps us out by loaning percussion equipment for today's performance, and that is West Jessamine High School Band. And of course, it's always nice to play, but it's always better to play if people are listening, and that is you, the audience. And we do appreciate you taking time to come to all the concerts. They do a lot during the year. So far this year, they've done one about space, they've done one about music from around the world, they've got some special stuff coming up. So I certainly hope you'll come to the concerts. They're always free. Speaking of that, nobody up here gets paid a dime. If they have to buy music or whatever, they pretty much got to go down in their pockets and do it on their own. That's where you can help. See that bucket right there? It's got a hole in the top. And any denomination will fit right in that hole. If you are appreciative of the fact that they give free concerts and you don't have to buy a ticket, maybe stick some money in there for them so it can help them buy more music and get the stuff they need, I would appreciate it as well. They've been around for 3 years now. It's amazing to me. And remember, they started with 8 people. Is there 8 people here today? If you were one of the originals, raise your hand. And now it's all this. So, the bucket will be here. I hope you will come up and donate and look forward. Now, next concert, sometime in October. Watching for that. All right. Our final selection, one that you will recognize, written by Washington, D.C. native and legendary bandmaster John Philip Sousa. He lived between 1854 and 1932. Now, Sousa wrote Stars and Stripes Forever. And he also wrote a dozen operettas and 6 full-length operas and over 100 marches, so that's why they called him the March King. He enlisted in the United States Marine Corps at the early age and went on to be a conductor of the President's Marine Band at age 26. In 1892, he formed Sousa and his band, which toured the U.S. and the world under his directorship for the next 40 years. Now, Stars and Stripes Forever is considered the finest march ever written, and at the same time, one of the most patriotic ever conceived. The Philadelphia Public Ledger said this back in 1897, quote, "It is stirring enough to rouse the American eagle from its crag and set him to shriek exultantly while he hurls his arrows at the aurora borealis." We need those kind of reporters today. The march has been named as the National March of the United States. We conclude our concert today with the Stars and Stripes Forever. Stephen Holland and Ben Lane. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your attendance. Have a happy and safe 4th of July. We'll see you at the next concert.